We had a guy, I won't say his name, but he joined the Elite Artist Society and we started doing the Picasso Method, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. And essentially he started posting very consistently. And he had a lot of self-doubt, which I empathize with. And he posted over and over and over and over and over again. He was stuck for 2 months under 1,000 views per video. And then finally it clicked. And he grew 3,000 followers of mostly all the right people in 1 week. Honestly, it was a couple of days. Because he didn't give up.
Welcome to the Musician Secrets podcast. Today I have an amazing guest that I can't wait to pick his brain on. His name is Anthony Urmetz, and he's the founder or the owner of the Elite Artist Society, and he's basically on a mission to save independent artists from the music industry. So welcome.
Hi, glad to be here.
You have a very interesting story. That is actually what got me to stop, and I'm like, oh, this is new. You have a completely different, for me, kind of sounded backwards. Because I grew up, writing songs, learning the guitar. I studied, at university and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And people keep telling you why are you choosing songwriting or a musician path, right? But for you, it was the other way around. You were like, I studied chemistry and then decided to become a musician, right?
Yeah.
So let's just start there, because that is, I think, that's what got me to stop. I'm like, that's cool. So yeah, what was the transition into music, and what is the story behind that?
Yeah, it was, so I actually have always been in the music industry since 2016. So I'm pretty young, you could say, or at least I consider myself pretty young. So I was in high school when I started getting into music, and I was a music producer, and it all started because me and my friends were freestyling in the car one day, just being obnoxious, having a good time. And I looked down at the YouTube video and I realized, wow, this beat has 10.3 million views or something. That's crazy. And this beat honestly isn't even that good. I wonder what it actually takes to produce this kind of stuff. What does it actually take to produce music that could be cool? And so I went and I found out, and me and my buddies downloaded a pirated copy of FL Studio. And since then I started getting into music production. And it was through that process that I eventually got further and further into it and fell in love with it. And it was around 2020 when I decided, this was when I was a sophomore in college, that I was like, hey, I'm going all in on this. By the time I graduate, I want to make sure that I set myself up in a position where I could be doing this full time, if that answers your question.
Yeah. Plus, what I found is interesting as well is you kind of made a deal with yourself, right? You made a promise, right?
Yeah.
Do you kind of want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I think I really made that promise to myself when I got into college, because it was around that time when I started meeting, that's when I produced the first, my first song with an artist, and started really experiencing hey, this is what the industry really could look like. And I had all this uninformed optimism of how successful I could be. And I was very excited in that moment, right? And so I was like, hey, I know I'm doing chemistry right now, but I also understand that that's not going to be something that I want to do lifelong. I just felt in my heart, I know I don't need to do that. I know I won't be passionate about chemistry. It's a good job. It's a good field. And I loved learning it. But actually working in a lab every day, a 9 to 5, it just didn't sit right with me. Like I said, there's nothing against people who have a 9 to 5, but it just wasn't sitting right with me, right? And so it was at that moment that I was like, hey, I'm going to do everything in my power so that I don't have to, use my degree and get a job so I could actually do what I love for the rest of my life. And I actually didn't fully execute on that till about 2020. So 2 years after, it was my sophomore year. I thought I was, but I wasn't.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thing, because for me, looking back on my journey, I think mindset was a huge thing, where I'm I thought I was doing everything, or I thought I was doing the right things, and I really wasn't. So you kind of played on that a little bit. What were the things that you had to realize? You're oh my word, like these aha moments or these epiphanies where you're oh my gosh, this is the world isn't what it is anymore. I thought it was this thing, and now that I know this, it's actually that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I have those moments all the time still, and I think that means that
It's
you're
always,
growing.
that's a good thing. It means
Yeah.
you're growing, yeah.
Yeah, it'll never change. But like the first one that I had was when I started working with artists and producing songs with them, and none of it was getting heard. Especially when I started working with a bigger artist. His name is 7 a.m. And we had our first song do really well. I don't know what the marketing behind it was because I wasn't involved with it at the time, but it did very, very well. It has like over 900,000 streams now. And so all of the other stuff we produced did not do that well because he wasn't with the same company or whatever, and like we were struggling. And I also wasn't able to sell beats as a producer because that's what I thought I was going to do. I was like, okay, I'm going to be a full-time music producer. I'm going to win a Grammy one day and like get involved in sync placements and sell beats and really make this a business. And through that process, I had no idea what I was doing. And I actually ended up spending an entire year trying to build a website so that I could sell beats, my own website that I had like a beat store on and everything. And I invested in like a really small course to teach me how to do all that. And I wasted all this time building this website. And I say I wasted it because when I got done, I had nobody actually coming to the website. There was no traffic. And so I just wasted all this time building something that nobody could see. It's like having a supercar with no gas, right? It's like, there's no point. And you can imagine like that felt really crappy. Like it wasn't a good feeling to realize that I wasted all my time focusing on the wrong things. And so when that happened, I realized, hey, I need to understand marketing better. Like I need to understand how marketing works and how to get leads and how to funnel people the right way, not only for myself, but for the artists that I was working with so that they could have more people listen to their music as well. Because I knew that if I could do that, it would bring more value to myself as a producer, that I could separate myself outside of just being able to make beats, because I feel like beats are a commodity.
100% agree. Okay, let's put a pin in marketing, but because that is like a hot topic. That was one of my big aha moments as well. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I was at university with like the most talented musicians that you can think of. Like I was like down here, and they were like so talented. But you know, if you don't know how to market, nobody's gonna hear it, right?
Right.
So that was like marketing was a big aha moment for me. So what else are there like aha moments that you had where you're like, gosh, I didn't know that this was a thing, and now that you're doing it, you're like, it finally makes sense and it's working for me.
Investing into education, I'd say, is one thing.
Oh.
I think I was very much against getting outside help in a lot of areas of my life, whether that was just like self-development or marketing or mindset or fitness or anything. I've always been the kind of guy where it's like, I want to do everything on my own and say that I did it on my own, just so it would fuel my ego, right? Yeah. And I let that get in the way. And I think that's why it took me so long to really go all in on this till 2020. And I haven't been perfect with it since then either. It's still something that I constantly battle. But it wasn't until I first invested into coaching, like real mentorship, like money that I just did not have, that I learned that lesson of like, wow, this is extremely important. Getting yourself uncomfortable, having mentors, people who are where you want to be to guide you and help you. That's the best thing that anyone can do. That was another thing.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So like marketing, realizing how to market your music as well as making it. And so then investing in yourself, pretty much, like in you as the artist, right?
Right. Exactly. Because if you think about it, you could get all of this, like you could make a ton of money, you could have a lot of success and connections, but that could also all disappear really quickly one day, because that's how life works. Like it just comes out of nowhere, right? But yourself, your skills, your mindset, how you carry yourself, make commitments and decisions, that is something no one can ever take away from you. That's why you see videos of people who, you know, like Alex Hormozi, or like big entrepreneurs in the space, whatever. They'll go on podcasts like this, and people will ask them like, hey, if you lost it all today, could you get it back? And they're like, yeah, of course I could, because it's the skills. And so investing in your skills is the best thing anyone can do.
I 1000% agree with that. Like for me, it was a big thing. Like this was just a small moment, but my son is turning 4 tomorrow, and so
Congrats.
thanks. I've been baking cakes all day today. I can't. But basically, we have a swing outside in the backyard, and he can't swing it, right? And so we were swinging next to each other. And that's his goal, is like to swing as high as possible. He saw me swinging and he couldn't, right? And so then he wanted to switch swings. And I'm like, that's so interesting. Like, why would you want to switch swings? And so I'm like, I don't care, let's switch swings. And then he kind of got sad. I'm like, why did you want to switch swings? And he's like, yeah, because I wanted to swing as high as you. And I'm like, and then it took me a second, and he thought that the swing was the thing that got him to his goal, which was to swing as high as possible. But it was actually my skill to be able to swing. We as musicians think it's the tool, like it's the swing, right? It's like, it's this preset.
Right, exactly.
So I just 1000% agree with that. So let's go into marketing, because that was a big aha moment, and I can't stress how important it is. I like to use the McDonald's method. Like, McDonald's doesn't make the best burgers, but everyone knows McDonald's because they have the best marketing, right? It's like, even if you're not the best, but if you know how to market, you'll make money. So can you like explain that and kind of emphasize like the importance of marketing, or not?
I don't know if everyone would agree with the definition, but in my eyes, marketing is kind of the same as just like advertising. It's just making yourself known. If I had to boil it down, it's as simple as that: making yourself known to someone who doesn't know you, or to someone who does. It could be either or.
Why is marketing so important? Like, why do I, as a musician, need to know what marketing is? Can I just hire someone, or why can't just a PR company do it for me, or like a label?
I mean, they could, right? But you also see what kind of results that gets for a lot of people. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do something, because it's not about, like we said, the vehicle. There's a lot of different ways to get to the same endpoint. It's about the person who's driving. So as long as the person has the right mindsets about what they're doing and why they're doing it, they'll be successful. The problem is most artists or people in like this industry don't have the right mindsets. They don't think about things the right way. And so they get taken advantage of and take paths that they're not ever going to be even like have a chance to be successful in, right? That's why people say like, oh, I got scams, or this method didn't work. And like, maybe that's the case. Generally, there's some bad things out there. And like I emphasize, I've been in those same shoes, right? Let's say, for example, that some guy wants to lose weight. He wants to get in shape. All diets work, right? Like keto works, I don't know all the diets, but they all work. People have had success with all of the diets, right? Vegan, all of the things, they work. It's not the diet itself that works, it's the person who makes it work. Because if he comes in and he does the diet and he doesn't stick to it and he's not consistent and he doesn't think about it the right way, he's not gonna be successful. But if he sticks to it and does what he's supposed to and just puts the left foot for the right foot, he's going to be successful. He's probably going to get the results he's looking for. And I think it's the same thing with marketing. So it's important, but being the person who makes it work, I think, is more important. If that makes sense. 100%.
We can just end the podcast right here. Amen to that. Wow. Okay. That was just like a value bomb right here that exploded. I hope everyone is writing this down, because it's you. Coming back to what you said before, is like, if you invest in you, then it's you. You can get you out of the mess. You can get you into the mess. You can get, if you believe in your skill set that you're developing, that is, in my opinion, way more powerful than like, someone please save me. I mean, again, coming back to, it is good to get help from the right people. But I think the mindset is very different that you said.
Yeah. In terms of marketing, I feel like I still didn't answer your question, how you wanted it to be answered, or maybe how you intended it to be answered. And so I feel like marketing is important, because if nobody knows you, you're not going to get heard, right? It's like you can have, if we're talking about music, a song produced by God featuring Jesus Christ himself, right? But if nobody hears it, then no one's going to be able to appreciate it. And if no one appreciates it, then you're not going to have much success doing music full time, if that's your goal. Now, if music is just something that's a hobby, a side thing, a pleasure, like I wouldn't say you even need to take on the responsibility of getting into marketing. Maybe if you enjoy it, but like I wouldn't say it needs to be a job or something that you really focus on. Just focus on making music, because that's what you do.
So what would you say is like the mindset that you need around marketing, that where you're like, okay, once you've kind of focused on that, you're like, that was the game changer?
Focus on the constraint in the business. So thinking of music as a business to start, and then finding the constraint in the business. So for example, if you're an artist and you want to get more listeners, an easy thing to do would be to go and like get on a bunch of playlists, right? And then you get more listeners, and then you're going to want to get more shows. And you're going to go back to square one, because the playlist isn't going to transfer into shows because you don't own your audience, and there's no way for you to contact those people who are listening to your music. And also, once you stop playing for the playlist, those listeners are going to vanish. And so big picture, focus on where you want to be. Again, coming to the person of who you want to become and what that person achieves, and then reverse engineering the process from there. So if you want to be the artist that plays a lot of shows and goes on tours, reverse engineer from that process. Okay, what do I need to accomplish along the way to actually get there? And you'll find out that you need to own your own audience, right? You need to be able to contact them. You need to have a community, those kind of things.
I think you just mentioned something very powerful. I think this is what like most artists overlook, because we get so caught up in the doing. And I see it in myself too, where I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, and I'm like, this is not even work. Like, with the like having the end goal in mind, because like you said, like all of these diets work, this keto and I don't know, whatever, you know. But at the end of the day, you have to be the person who executes on that. And if you're picking something where you're like, I don't actually like that. Like, I don't even like performing. Like, that's what I've realized is I don't like to be a solo artist. And at first I thought that's what I wanted to do, right? Yeah. And then I'm like, at university, when you have the chance to do that, I'm like, you know what? I actually don't like that. It was just like the picture what I thought I had, who I had to be. And it was completely wrong. I like to perform in a band. I like to be the person in the background. You know, I like to showcase other people. I'm like, look at these amazing people. Like, cool. Like, and that's why a podcast for me makes sense, because I like to showcase other amazing musicians and experts. They're like, look at these people. Like, they know what they're doing. You know, for me, that is more natural than being the solo performance. That doesn't say like being a solo performer is wrong or not the right thing or not something you shouldn't do, but it just doesn't make sense for me. Right?
That makes
sense.
100%
agree with starting with that end goal and then reverse engineering, because you have a lot of people successful with that, right?
Another thing too that I think is important is defining what constraint means, because I feel like I just threw that out. So focus, treat it as a business, and then also figure out what the constraint is. The constraint is the one thing that if you did it, it would move the needle further, like the furthest. It's the highest leverage task or opportunity that you could do at that moment, because we all have limited time and resources, right? And so finding, hey, what is the one thing that if I were to do this, this will move me the farthest, the closest towards where I want to be. So that is the constraint. And so finding the constraint is always something that should be on our minds of like, hey, what is the constraint? Because there's always a constraint. Like when sometimes I ask people, like, I'll be having a conversation with an artist and they'll say like, hey, I want to make music full time. That's been my goal for 3 years. And I just don't know what is missing. And I'm like, dude, that's the problem itself. Like, you don't know what the constraint is. And that's your freaking job, right? You should know what the constraint is, because you're the CEO of your own business. If it's just you, that's your job, figuring out what is the constraint and how do I fix it. And so by saying, I don't know, it's externalizing the responsibility, saying, oh, well, somebody should have told me, right? Someone else. Like, what are you doing? And I get it. Like, I used to be that guy. Literally from 2018 to 2020, that was me. So I get it. But that's why I said earlier, like, mindset and taking responsibility and figuring out who you want to become and start acting like that person is literally the biggest thing anyone can do to get them closer to where they want to be, whether it's in music or anything in life. At least I believe that.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like, when you mean constraints, is it like the time-wise? Do you mean like the 80-20 rule, where you're like, what is like the most leverage I can get out of my time? Or does it just mean like, I'm not able to do this, so I have to find a different way of going about this, like in order of like weaknesses? Or like, can you just like be maybe more specific on what you mean with constraints?
The first thing you said is more so what I was talking about. The second thing you said is resourcefulness, which is different.
Yeah.
And that is also a very powerful skill people should develop. When I say constraint, like for example, in my own business, we have a coaching program. I think my biggest constraint right now is finding the right type of leads, people to talk to. Like, I realize that I want to work with artists who are a little bit more established than not, because I find that they get results quicker. They have more funds available to invest into themselves, which allows them to do things better. And those are like my ideal, like that's my one true fan. That's the person that I would like most likely want to work with. And so that's my constraint. How I feel like I'm solving that is by changing the content and the messaging to, attract that type of person more than not, right? So that is an example of a constraint. For an artist, the constraint could be, well, I want to play shows, but none of the venues are going to let me play shows unless I pay them until I hit X amount of followers. Your constraint is your followers. Now your problem is, how do I get my followers up? What do I need to do now to get my followers up so that I can play the shows that I want?
Okay. I think I'm following. So obstacles, like if this is an obstacle to get to my goal, like how can I overcome it? Kind of like that.
Yes, exactly. What is the biggest thing keeping you from getting to where you want to be, right? And then how do I solve that using the least amount of time, money, and resources?
Okay. All right. I think now I'm getting it. So it's basically just being like, okay, this is my goal. This is what's in my way. These are my obstacles. And how can I leverage, my skill sets or whatever, or how can I gain a skill set to overcome this, or with the time resources I also have, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, cool. Like, I'm following. That makes so much sense. I don't think a lot of people think about that.
Probably not.
That's a big one. Like, that's a very big one. Knowing where you want to go, like that, and what you don't want. Like for me, like, marketing is obviously attracting the people you want, but what is more important is repelling the people you don't want. And I think that is even more important, and people and artists are scared of that, because I'm like, I just want everyone to listen to my music. And I'm like, that is not possible. Not even Taylor Swift does that. That's like not a good idea. Like, once you're scared to repel the people that, like you said, you only want to work with a certain amount of artists, like with a certain type of artist, right? So you want to naturally repel the people that you don't want, right? In your marketing, in your messaging, in your language, right? Because this podcast is not for makeup tutorials. Right?
Exactly.
Then I'm sorry, you're in the wrong podcast, my friend. Right? This is not what we're talking about. What really bugs me about most musicians is their business plan is record a song, put it on Spotify, maybe put it on a playlist, and then put it on YouTube or make some shorts, and then that's it. Yeah. What do you have to say about that?
I mean, it's not gonna work out for you if that's all we're doing. The volume required to be successful in any industry or anything you do in life is much more than you will expect it to be. Like, for example, I went to school for running. Like, I was a student athlete, and one of my roommates and one of my good friends is now a professional athlete. Like, he gets paid professionally to run. He's very, very good. He loves it more than anyone I've ever met in the world. Yeah. He runs 100 to 120 miles a week every single week, right? That's a lot of running, right? And he's been doing that consistently for the past 2 years. You can go look up. It's all online, all the data. He uploads all his runs publicly. He doesn't miss days. He runs every single day. He loves it. That's all he does. And yet he's still not the best in the world. He's one of the best, but he's still not the best, which is crazy, because that is so much, if you think about it, that's so much effort and time. He dedicated his entire life. For the past 12 years, he's been running every single day, and yet he's still not at the top, right? And so it's the same thing with this for artists. It's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot more effort than you expect it to be. So that is my answer to your question. If we think that all we have to do is put a song on a playlist and put it on YouTube or whatever, no, you're not going to, that's okay if you just want to release music, and I applaud you for that, because I know that's not easy. But if your goal is to be full-time in music and have this be a career, It's a very tall, difficult mountain to climb. And anyone who says otherwise is lying.
But it's worth it, I would say. Because if it's what you do, because you have to do in life things that you don't want to do anyway, but I'd rather be doing this and it'd be hard than being in a 9 to 5 and it sucks, or being hard there, because you're not, at least in the 9 to 5 job that I had before, I just hated everything. And now at least I get to do what I love with a little bit of it, or let's make 50-50, or sometimes it overweighs where it's like I'm doing 90% what I don't want and 10%, and then sometimes it's 50-50, and then it's like 90% of what I do love. But you never have like, I 100% love everything that I do. Like,
no. And that's the beautiful thing, like what you said, it's hard either way. Like as humans, we have the choice to choose our hard. Because it's going to be hard to be broke, to struggle as a musician, to work a 9 to 5 that you're not passionate about, to know that you're not really going all in on your dreams. That's hard. But it's also hard to be full-time as a musician. It's hard to step in front of a show, a crowd of people that depend on you to deliver a performance. It's hard to be consistent with uploading and creating music, building a team, managing a team, understanding business, doing taxes. Like all of that is hard. Mm-hmm. It's going to be hard either way, right? It will never be easy. It will always be hard. But we get a choice. Which hard do you want?
Yeah.
Because there's pros and cons to each. And so, yeah.
I think what I've been noticing is that the pros make it look easy, like effortless. Like if you look at Pink, like she'll like sing while she's doing all these dance thingies, and like she makes it look easy, and it's like I can like barely talk when I'm jogging, and it's like and like you said, you get to pick your type of hard.
That's the other hard part, is getting on social media, because there's a lot of these gurus and like people who flex their Miami penthouses and Lamborghinis in their backyard and all this garbage, and they make it seem like they live this extravagant lifestyle, and most of them are lying. Most of them are not living that lifestyle, and they're not as fulfilled as they appear to be. Everyone on social media appears to be perfect and happy, and that's not true, because we're all human beings. Yeah. We all have ups and downs. We all have doubts and fears, right? And so getting on, I feel like I recently just overcame this that I was struggling with. I was getting on social media and seeing all those people that I looked up to, and I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I not able to live at that perfect standard like them? Why can I not show up like them every day? And it made me feel like I wasn't good enough. And it put me in a cycle where I really kind of just stopped. I let the ball drop, if you will, in my own life in pretty much every area. And I kind of like rotted in my place for like a week and just felt bad for myself and had a pity party. And it took me getting on a call with one of my mentors for him to tell me like, hey, that's normal, dude. Like, they're lying. That's not real. And your standard of perfection is unrealistic. Like, having a perfect standard in anything is just going to lead to that cycle of procrastination that I was going in. That cycle of procrastination and self-doubt and overthinking, which is something I've noticed holds a lot of creative people back as well, holding ourselves to a standard of perfection because we want to deliver the best that we can, but that's unrealistic.
Totally. Oh, gosh. There are 3 words that I learned that I've been just telling myself over and over this year. Mm-hmm. Do it anyway.
Yeah. So
do it,
good.
because that's what people do. They do it. You're scared? Well, do it anyway. You don't know how to contact this person? Well, just do it anyway and put in the reps. Like, do you know how many people I contact? Or, not everyone says yes to the podcast, and that's fine. I don't take that personal. I'm like, that's cool. Like, and people are like, hey, you know what? I don't feel like being on the podcast, but ask me next year. I'm like, cool. I'll put you on the list for next year. Like, that's fine. Like, I just have to learn to not take things personal. It's not about like that ego where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna throw this pity party because they said no. And I'm like, get yourself together. Like, do you know how many artists get no and get like? There's a video that you put out. I call it the 99 flops. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Do you want to like elaborate on that? Because I feel this is like... because you said you didn't feel good enough, I feel like a lot of artists can relate with that. And that video specifically, I was just like,
What was it from that video that really resonated with you?
my connection is,
Did you hear me?
yeah, it just cut out.
All good.
Okay,
Here,
I think you're back. Sorry.
I'll ask again. What was it from that video that really resonated with you?
Like I think who was it? Sarah Blakely from Spanx, founder of Spanx. She talked about this a lot, about how important failure is and to embrace failure. Like just get through the no's as quick as possible so you get to the one yes that works, you know. And Nick D talks about that too. He's like, if you can have like, if you knew you would go viral after 50 tries or 100 tries, wouldn't you try to get through these as fast as possible to get to the, but the thing is we just don't know which one is going to be the one video or the one thing, right? And then nothing else matters after that, right? And it was so cool that you said that. It's like, those 99, they don't matter once you hit the one, right? Nobody will remember the 99. Like Alex Hormozy or whoever, like nobody knows that the things that didn't work. Everyone talks about the thing that does work, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's that's the number one thing that holds people back from going all in on like their dreams too. It's the fear of failure. It's the uncertainty that if they do, they could look stupid, that they could get made fun of, that they could fail, that they could waste all their time and money, that they could be irresponsible and not give their time to their family while they're giving their time to this. But what I would say to that is it's selfish not to. Because if you're in a spot where you're not happy, like you're not feeling fulfilled, you're not feeling like you're giving the best to yourself and to others around you, then it would be selfish not to go all in. Because once you get to that point, once you actually make it work, then you can imagine how much more you could pour into yourself and others around you, right? And so it's just that perspective shift that I think a lot of people need. Because you're right, if it was guaranteed to work, if it was guaranteed that if you showed up for the next 30 days and posted one piece of content, you would be successful, you'd do it. But it's not. And that's the hard part. It's not guaranteed. But it's the people who show up regardless and don't throw in the towel on themselves and put the left foot in front of the right foot that actually one day do eventually become successful. Because we had a guy, I'll give you an example. We had a guy, I won't say his name, but he joined the Elite Artist Society and we started doing the Picasso Method, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. And essentially he started posting very consistently. And he had a lot of like self-doubt, which I empathize with. And he posted over and over and over and over and over again. And he hit me up. He was like, hey, man, like this isn't working. What's going on? And I just had to help, like, hey, dude, trust the process. And eventually, after 2 whole months of him showing up for himself, posting, doing everything that we said, coming to our calls, getting feedback on his content, he was stuck for 2 months under like 1,000 views per video. And then finally, it clicked. And he grew like 3,000 followers of like mostly all the right people in 1 week. Honestly, it was a couple of days. Because he didn't give up. So that's what's required.
Yeah, that I'm feeling that. How did you said you were stuck in this like, I'm not good enough pity party.
Yeah.
How did you get out of that? Like, because I feel like a lot of artists are stuck there and we're comparing each other like all the time. I'm not as good as, I don't know, fill in the blank.
Right.
How did you overcome that?
It was what my mentor told me this. He said, just go do what you said you're going to do today. Because like, if you think about where confidence comes from, it comes from action, right? Like if I said, hey, I want to get better at talking to girls so I could go on more dates and get married, right? Am I going to get better at that skill by watching a lot of YouTube videos on like what cologne to wear and how to dress and what to say? Or am I going to get better by going out and approaching people and having conversations? Probably the second one, right? So it's the same thing with content. You get better through action. It's the same thing with confidence. It takes action. So it was just me getting out of my own head and like saying, oh, I have the power to change my situation right now. He said, what is 1 to 3 things you can do today that you said you were going to do this week? And just go do them. So I wrote those down. I even put in our group chat. This is why having community is so important. People who hold themselves to high standards and will hold you to the same standard. It was just the 3 things I just put in our Discord group chat. hey, today I will 1, 2, 3. And then at the end of the day, I said, I did these things. And everybody was like, good job. And then the next day, today I will 1, 2, 3. And then everyone said, okay. And then at the end of the day, I did X, Y, Z. I didn't quite finish Z, but I gave it my best and I'm proud of myself. Okay, awesome. The next day. And for an entire week, I just did that. And then ever since then, I've just been doing what I said I was going to do. It's all it takes. I'm really glad I was able to have that conversation with him though. And I hope that's helpful.
Yeah. For me, confidence comes from the inside out, not from the outside in.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people look from the outside to give me confidence. Like, just, you know, and that's why Tony Robbins says the power comes from within. Like, it is within you. You have the power, you have the choices, and action. He's like the biggest advocate. He's like, take massive action, right? He's like the extreme version of that, but right?
Yes.
But he's like, action cures everything. Like, that's what I notice is like, if I feel like not good enough or, you know, whatever, like, I'm just like, action cures it. And like, go and contact 20 artists and ask if they want to be on the podcast. Cured, right?
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to think about like, oh yeah, I totally forgot that I'm not good enough because I just did it.
Right. Exactly. And also reframing our perspective on goals, because a lot of the time we can't control the outcomes in life because we're not God. And so figuring out like, hey, what are the inputs that I can do consistently? Just like I said, like, okay, here's the 1 to 2, 3 things I'm doing today. And as long as you show up for yourself and do the things that you say you're going to do for yourself and for others, then you can tell yourself, hey, I actually gave it the best possible chance. Regardless of if I hit my goal or not, I did everything I said I was going to do. And that's the real win. That's where the fulfillment comes from as well, at least from what I've experienced.
You teased kind of the Picasso method, and because I feel like the biggest questions or the most questions I get is like, how do I get fans? But I feel like this is where like most artists get stuck or feel they're stuck. It kind of feels like the bottleneck. Like, if that's not flowing, then everything at the back end doesn't really make sense, or or you just feel stuck, right? You have something that's called the Picasso Method. Can you like share your step-by-step or like your framework that you have for getting fans?
Yeah. So I'd say it's a 2-part process. Outside of the Picasso Method, the biggest thing is figuring out who your target audience is. And when I say target audience, I don't even mean like broad audience, I mean person. And this isn't like, oh, males 18 to 34 who live in New York and Atlanta and you know, that's not what we're talking about. We want to get very deep on who this person is, because if you think about it, when you understand your audience better than they understand themselves, that gives you a lot of leverage, because then everything you do outside of your music creation is tailored for that person. Like the emails that you send, or the textbooks that you use in your content, or the merch that you design, and what colors you use to design it, or where you play shows. All of these decisions that you make are for that person. So first, understanding who that person is and what they desire, what they don't desire, where they're at in their life, their relationship status, what car they drive, like all of these things, getting a very clear picture on who that person is first off. Then you can go into the Picasso Method, because if you don't have that foundational thing like set up, then everything else doesn't matter, and you're going to be throwing darts at the wall and not knowing why they're not landing, right?
Yeah.
The second part is where you can use the Picasso Method, which is we want to find artists who are similar to you. And obviously no one's going to be exactly the same, but people like as close as possible who have the same target audience. They're serving the same group of people or the same person, who have a similar message to you. They're making music for the same reasons. They have the same message and purpose and want to make similar impacts to you. And they're also growing organically. Those are the 3 things, right? And we actually use this tool called Social Blade to verify that. It's a free software, Social Blade. You could type it in, and what you do is you put someone's username. So let's say I found an artist who's meets all those 3 things, who's like me, and they're posting content. It's growing organically. It's doing well. I want to put their username into Social Blade, and I can look at the graph that it provides, and it'll show me how much they're growing. It'll show me how many followers they gained in the last 30 days, how many times they posted in the last 30 days, how much they've grown over the last entire lifetime of their Instagram account. And if you see a bunch of up and downs, like if you see a bunch of spikes on the graph, that's how you know it's not really organic growth, which is fine in some cases. But if you see more of a linear like curve, then you can be confident like, oh, this person is growing organically. This is a good competitor or person for me to Picasso, which means taking their top contents. And you can use a extension called sort feed. You can get it on your browser. And when you open Instagram on your desktop, what it'll allow you to do is sort people's posts from like most likes or most views or whatever you want to sort on Instagram itself. And you can see what their top posts are. And you want to go and you want to steal like an artist. So Picasso, it comes from Pablo Picasso, the painter. And he has this quote, good artists copy, great artists steal. And what that means and how we interpret that is like, we don't want to copy people directly. We want to steal. So we'll steal from their best content. Maybe that's the hook. Maybe it's the angle, whatever it is, steal a piece of what's working from them and apply it to your own content. And through that process, you'll eventually have something click. It's probably going to take a lot of work. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy. But when was anything worth achieving fun or easy? And when you actually go through that process, something will click, and then you can start Picassoing yourself, and you'll start to learn what works and why it works and actually master the skill of content creation yourself. That's the Picasso method.
Okay, so it's basically steal like an artist. Do you know the book by Austin Kleon?
Yeah,
Steal
yeah.
Like an Artist? Yeah.
Very similar to that.
Okay, so what would you say, because I'm so sick and tired of hearing this, but what would you say to musicians that are like, yeah, I just make music for everyone. Like my music, I can't be put in a box. That's what I hear. Like I don't have a genre. I'm just kind of a little bit of everything, and therefore my music is for everyone. What do you say to those artists?
That's awesome. Like if your music is for everyone, that's great. Your marketing can't be for everyone, right? Because it doesn't even matter if your music is for everyone, because people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. There's another book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And so when you lead with your messaging of why you do what you do and what you're actually trying to accomplish, people will latch onto that, and that's why they'll actually connect with you when you tell your story, because that's the one thing that separates you from everyone else. Because you could be an amazing country artist, but there are already a lot of amazing country artists. So what makes you different? Oh, I have the best song. Well, that's what everybody says. So what's actually different? Like nobody gives a crap, right? Like, so when you're able to tell this story behind the music, people can actually appreciate it, right? So starting with why, figuring out who it's for and what experiences you have that align with their experiences. And if you lead with that, then you can, target the right people, which probably isn't everyone, because not everyone can relate to the same things that you relate to.
I mean, because like everyone, like you can't relate to everyone. It's not possible. Like I can have my hair in a ponytail, and people are like, why do we have a ponytail? And then I have open hair, and then they're like, why do you like you would look better in a pony? Like it doesn't matter what you're doing. Somebody's always gonna like it, and someone's gonna dislike it. So it's like, just from a logical standpoint, for my opinion, I'm like it doesn't even make sense.
There's a difference. Like people will say things, but that's not what they mean. Like oftentimes what people say isn't necessarily what they actually mean by what they say, if you follow that. Because when they say, I want, my music is for everyone, what they're really saying is, I want everyone to listen to my music. Like I want to have people listen to my music. So they don't necessarily believe, or at least in my experience, that their music is for everyone. They understand it's not. They just want more people to listen to it. They just don't know how to say that differently. We
know who her fans are. We figured out, we were like laser focused. Okay, this is what they do. This is what their day looks like. This is what very specific on who my fans are, right? And then the second thing is stealing like an artist, right?
Yeah.
So what's the process like? What does that look like? You mentioned the tool. But then like, how do I do it? Like, how is it that, to get like fans into my world?
Okay. I think there's different things here. So when you're using Picasso method, you want to do that until you get a version that like actually sticks and does well and pulls in a lot of the right people. And that will become what we call core content. So we have core content, we have Picasso content, and we have new idea content. So core content is past proven content. It's winning content. It does very, very well. And we just want to continue posting that kind of content. Picasso content is either we Picassoed from ourselves or someone else. It's changing one thing about an already proven piece of content. New idea content is just a new idea. It's not necessarily pulled from anything. It's just like, oh, I just want to make this piece, right? And you want to break that up into 70% core content, 20% Picasso content, and 10% new idea content. And that's how you would go about posting consistently. There's also another side of things where you have top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel content, right? So top funnel is more broad. And a lot of people say different things about it. I think there's a lot of gray area. I don't have very strong opinions of like, oh, this is top of funnel and middle funnel. Like it's fine. I'm not going to get heated about it. But like, as long as you have some separation, then it's okay. You want to have more top funnel. We say 60, 30, 10. So 60% top funnel, 30% middle, 10% like bottom.
Why is that important? Like,
Okay.
why are these tiers important to know in your content?
Because if you don't have one, then the whole the machine won't work. Because if you think about it, what it really is the customer journey or the fan journey of, like, let's say top funnel content is getting somebody to be aware of you, who you are. This person exists. Maybe it's just them following you and seeing one post. Yeah. Middle funnel is them hearing your story, why you do what you do, seeing more of your post, joining your broadcast channel. Bottom funnel is them coming in and pre-saving your song and buying your music direct from you, or buying merch from you, or coming to your show, or joining and becoming like an active user inside of your Discord community, something like that. Those are all like examples. So if you just post bottom funnel content, you're just gonna come off as a salesman, and no one's gonna want to talk to you. If you just post top funnel content, you're gonna get all of this attention and go viral over and over and over again, and then you're gonna have 100,000 followers and no money, which has happened quite a lot.
Yeah, I'm surprised how often it actually happens. Like some artists are really good at content and going viral, and they know what to post. But they're really bad at monetizing it. Like, they have no idea how to turn that attention into money.
Of course they don't. They're artists. No one's there to tell them. That's fair. Nobody told them, and they didn't even know. So I get it. That's why we do what we do.
Yeah, that was a big one. Like, after university, I'm like, I got better at all these different skills, as a musician, but I'm still broke. And then I realized, I need to learn how to market. If you could go back to, the very beginning of your journey, and you could be give yourself advice and be like, you know what, focus on this, don't do this, develop these skills and this mindset, what would it be?
That's a good question. Honestly, wouldn't change anything. If you were asking me specifically, I wouldn't want to change anything. Like, I'm very happy that I made the mistakes that I did when I made them, and that I got to experience the things that I've experienced so far. I wouldn't want to be any farther than I am now than where I'm at. There's probably nothing that I would want to do differently. I think for someone who is in my position, like when I was 18 and really first starting to go all in on music, what I would give them as tactical advice is kind of like we talked about at the beginning of the call, is to invest into themselves and understand that it's going to be an uncomfortable and scary decision, and that every time they put themselves outside of their comfort zone is where they're going to find the most growth. Being around people who care about what they care about, being around people who are where they want to be, I think that would probably be the best thing they could do. And not listening to other people's advice who aren't where they want to be. That's something that I think I did a lot, was take advice from people who had no leverage to speak into my situation. Just because they had an opinion, I listened to them. It wasn't people who had actually done what I was trying to achieve. And I just listened to their advice, and 99% of the time it didn't. It was the wrong thing to do. That's probably the most tactical advice I would give.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, just amen. Amen to that. I had someone come to me, and she was like, you know what, I don't know how regularly I should post. She was like, a release plan. Should I have a release date? Should I have a release plan? Should I have a content strategy? I mean, you kind of went into that with the 3 different tiers to that, but that's, I think a lot of artists have this question, is with music, like how frequently should I post? Should I have a release plan? And like in a strategy behind that, or is it just like pumping out? Like I think Russ did that. He's like just every week pump out content. Like, what's your take on that? Like, what would that your advice to be to this artist?
It will depend on their ability to produce content and what level they're at, because I think there's value in quantity. Like if you look at LaRussell, for example, who's a independent artist who's crushing it, he posts very frequently, like 5 times a day, every single day, consistently, different types of content, and it does well for him. And he also invests a lot of money into ads and into collaborations because he's at the level to where he can do that. And it was that same mindset though that got him to that level. Before, it wasn't that he was posting as much, like he was still posting as much as he could, but it wasn't 5 times a day, every day. It was just as much as he could, as much as he could be consistent with. So I don't think there's like a magic number. I think if you want to take yourself seriously, maybe like if you could do 3 times a week, 4 times a week, that's perfectly fine. There's actually been studies recently that have come out, to my knowledge, that say posting 4 times a week on Instagram is better than posting more, especially if it's quality content. Like most people get the most follows posting that amount. So I don't think we're in the age where you need to be pumping out like 6 pieces of content a day. I mean, that's what LaRussell does and it works for him, but I wouldn't overthink it. I wouldn't overthink the release strategies either. I would just say, like you said earlier, do it anyway. Like if you want to put out a song, then put out the song, set the date for next month, put out as much content as you can for it, and then learn from what didn't work, and then do it again the next month. And through that process, you'll probably accomplish more than sitting there and thinking about it. Have you ever heard the parable, like the Chinese pottery proverb, I think? You know what I'm talking about? Have you heard that?
When it breaks, or what?
It's the teacher who divided his class into 2, his pottery class. Have you heard that story before?
It depends. I need a little bit more context, but
I'll just share the story.
Let's tell the story.
Okay. Basically, there is this pottery teacher, and he split his class into 2 sections, like section 1 and section 2. And he said, okay, we're going to do this semester a little bit differently, right? Your guys on section 1, your entire grade this semester is dependent on perfection. You guys will get 1 opportunity to produce a perfect clay pot at the very end of the semester, and you have the entire year to prepare and do as much research as you can. You have full access to me. You can ask me as much questions as you want, but you need to be perfect at the end of the semester, okay? The other side of the class said, your guys' grade is dependent on volume. I'm going to grade you by how much weight, how many pots you can produce, and you have access to as many resources as you need. And so what happened is this side obviously started working every time they had class and making as many pots as they could. And then this side started researching and planning step by step out what they had to do. And like they had the whiteboard with all the pins and the tacks and like everything. And they were talking to all of like the top people and figuring out exactly what they needed to do. And what turns out is at the very end of the semester, they go to make their pot, and side 1, they go and they start creating it, and they're being very careful. And at the very end of the drying process, the pot shatters. It cracks and it shatters, and they all fail. And the side 2, who was doing volume, the pots that they created at the beginning of the year were awful. They were garbage. They weren't even pots, right? They were just pieces of clay. But near the end of the period, all of the pots that they created were perfect. They had tons of perfect pots because they learned through action and through experience what worked and what doesn't. And so the lesson is you learn more in an hour by doing than you do in like a month of thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. I know the story, but with pictures, with taking pictures.
Oh, cool. Same thing.
Yeah, it's the same principle. It's just like instead of pots, it's just taking pictures, right?
Yeah,
so,
applies for any example.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So you wouldn't say like there's no tactic, like you haven't seen a difference with like working with artists that there is like data or proof behind, a schedule.
It just depends. What's the goal?
Like the question is like, how often, like, do I need a release date and a plan to put out music? And if yes, then what's the release plan? Like, what do I need to do in order to like release the music?
You need to put out like probably a month in advance at least. You need to upload to your distributor, make sure all of that is sorted and taken care of. So that way you can, there's a lot of people that say why you should or should not do that, but I think you should from what I've seen. And then But if you don't have enough time, then still put it out anyways. And then from that, you'd probably want to have at least 2 weeks of content leading up to the song, and then after another 2 weeks of content for that song. If you want to do more, if you're capable of doing more, do more, because then you'll figure out what sections of the song perform the best. You figure out if you have a bunch of different songs you want to test, you can test different songs through the content as well. Especially if you have core content and it's already proven, you could just put different songs behind those pieces and use trial reels on Instagram or even your main feed to figure out what works best and why, and then you'll know what to promote. I think it just depends on the person and what their goal is. I don't feel like there's one. That's the hard thing. I don't believe there's like one, this is the process that you should follow and this will get you success every time, because that's just not how it works. I'm really a big believer in like, let's look at the data and let's take a bunch of action, and then let's look at the data again.
Oh, powerful. So basically, like to like sum this up, so it's basically more about your mindset and developing your skills, taking action, and then look at the data and then take it from there.
Yeah, learn through failure. But if you're someone who's like more established, then we probably don't have to do that. You probably already have like Multi-Season and I is an artist that we're working together right now. He has a lot of like crushing content. And so we didn't have to focus on that. It's like, hey, dude, I know that you know how to make content. I don't have to help you with that. Let's just work on the back end stuff, and I'll help you with the content that you need to make that run. And just working on that level is a whole lot different than someone who just started. So it really just depends on the needs of the person based off of where they're at.
This always goes so fast. We're already at over an hour in, so I want to be respectful of your time, but I'm just like, give me all the goods, because I mean, I'm not saying you're the only one that talks about fan funnels. It's really rare that somebody knows what a funnel is and then also talking about fan funnels. And can you explain what a fan funnel is, why an artist would need it, and what it can do for them, basically?
A fan funnel is a system, and you need systems so that you can repeatedly accomplish the same goal. What a fan funnel can do for you is it takes a person who doesn't know you, it allows them to know who you are, fall in love with you, give you money, listen to your music, come to your shows. It's the process. A funnel is just taking them through that process. That's probably as simply as I could put it.
Yeah, like a journey. It's like you're constructing the journey that this new person is coming through, basically.
Yes, and there's a lot of different ways you could have that work. You could have it be through a website, or like we use Kaizen.place. You could do email, you could do text, you could just do it through content, your broadcast channel. It could be a combination of all those things, but it's essentially taking person closer to a certain end goal in the journey.
Perfect. Is there anything else important where you're like, this is what artists need to know to, be successful in the music industry or as an independent artist that we haven't touched on yet?
I don't think so. Just to trust themselves. I think trusting yourself is big, and also knowing when you're wrong, like being open to new ideas. Trusting yourself and being open to new ideas. Probably the only other two things. Getting uncomfortable in life. We already talked about that, all those things though.
Yeah, but it's still a good one. Like, there's no growth in your comfort zone and no comfort in your growth zone. That's what my mom would always say to me.
She sounds like a smart woman.
Yeah, she is. So yeah, that's a good way to end this on. Where do people go if they want to check you out, if they want to start working with you, if they would just want to see what you're about, what you do? Go for it.
Yeah, the best thing to do would just be to follow me on Instagram at Urmetz Beats. Yeah, it's on the screen there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And send me a message if you have any specific questions. I'm pretty much always on Instagram, and I'm an open book. I'm very direct. If we haven't picked that up on this conversation, I'm very straightforward and direct, and I'm not going to BS you.
The German in me loves that. Yes.
Maybe that's where I get it from.
Maybe, yeah. Especially when I'm like emailing, I always get like straight to the point, and then people are like, that's kind of rude. I'm like, why? I don't want to waste your time. Like, let's get things going. Like,
right. Yeah, I respect that. It's good.
Anyways, So it's Urmetz Beats. I'm gonna blend it in one more time so people can see it, and just because I like doing it.
Awesome.
But thank you so much, for dropping so many value bombs. I hope everyone was taking notes. Anthony, he's amazing. He has really good knowledge of everything if you haven't noticed yet, but he knows what he's doing. So thank you for sharing that and appreciate it.
Heck yeah. Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Musician Secrets podcast. If you got value from this conversation, leave your biggest aha moment or your transition in the comments down below. Not only does this help me know what's landing for you, it also tells the algorithm that this episode was generally helpful. So you can reach even more musicians who need the same breakthrough that you just had. Thank you again, and see you the next time. Mahalo.